Good morning, and how is everybody? I figured we'd do something that I don't normally do. Not because I don't like it, it's just most of the time I don't have the time to keep up with it all the time. And, well, to be frank, a lot of the times, most of these shows that CIG does is kind of regurgitation of what they've done years prior. Um, with some slight changes to them. So I figured we'd give this one a shot. This one is 4.0, What We Do in Space, or as I like to call it, 4 slow. And we're going to take a look at this, and I'm going to give you what I think about it. All right? All right, so here we go. 4.0, What We Do in Space. Take it away, Jared and team.
By this point, it's pretty safe to say that all of you watching now know that Pyro is the next star system upcoming to the Star Citizen persistent universe in the upcoming Alpha 4.0. And 2 weeks ago, we started ISC's journey through the jump point to get there. And it's a good one. You should check it out if you haven't already. But what is there actually to do in the Pyro system once we get there? It's not all just pandemonium and chaos. To start, nearly every mission type and every gameplay system we've developed for Stanton works there as well. That means a life of cargo, salvage, mining, bounty hunting missions, and more are already ready to go due to their systemic development. But that's just the head start.
Systemic development. It is my opinion that if you take away master modes, most of what we have currently gameplay wise, as he's saying right now, cargo, mining, salvage, bounty hunting, none of it has changed in the last 2.5 years that I've been here, outside of the fact that salvage did get added. Eventually they made ships breakable using most people I see salvaging are using a reclaimer. So they use the claw, which is a straw essentially. And with mining, they just changed how much you find quantanium and how you go about mining it versus what it was prior to that change. I think that was 320 they changed it, 319, 320 they changed it, somewhere around there. Outside of that, everything else is, for the most part, remained the same for the last, as I said, 2.5 years that I've been here. So it's just a copy paste, but we'll see if they've actually added anything.
Start. There are also a number of new mission types, gameplay systems, and wholly unique experiences that arrive with Pyro and Alpha 4.0, and we'll be spending the next several weeks discussing them. Starting this.
Hopefully those new gameplay types aren't go to X location, kill 10 bad guys, go to X location, destroy X amount of drugs, go to X location, kill 25 bad guys, and so on and so on, because that's currently what we have in Stanton. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I find it quite repetitive and quite boring doing the exact same things over and over again.
This week with What We Do in Space, where we're talking about a new kind of space station built with the more efficient level design lessons learned in Stanton. A brand new, ongoing, never stopping, never quitting contested zone system that'll reward you more and more the longer you can hold it.
That's interesting.
And a sneak peek at asteroid bases that'll require both
ships and
FPS combat combined to overcome and explore for its reward.
Theaters of War?
Let's find out more.
The moving laser, that's got to be a booby trap. That looks pretty cool. Easy to disarm, though, it seems.
So let's start with space stations.
So in Pyro, we have 12 space stations. One of them is the jump point station that you arrive at, coming from Stanton.
When you arrive in the gas cloud, you can't see every part of the station. It's impossible. In your cockpit, you're just gonna see like a bit of it. And then when you get closer, you're gonna see like, oh, yeah, that's huge.
They are
But it's the same as what we have in Stanton.
Bigger and more involved than you would find in Stanton.
The exteriors are very aggressive looking. They're very spiky.
That does look cool. The checkpoint station.
There's an almost fractal nature to it.
The space stations are owned to like different like factions, so you can see like the factions and branding on top of some of the stations. And then you can see like, oh, if like rough and ready, you're gonna have problems.
The Rough and Ready gang is one of our main operators in the Pyro system. Almost every single rest stop refueling station is going to be run by Rough and Ready. They started off back in 2939 when this enforcer named Rook had had enough. He had this great plan about how they could take over the fuel operations in the system.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm just not a big fan.
The ruling council of the headhunters deemed that it was too risky.
Star Citizen lore.
But a lot of other people had gotten wind of Rook's plans, and so he ended up splintering off and kind of forming his own gang. Rook decided to take on this symbology of rest and relax, which is a known refueling station, and kind of do their own spin on it. And they took the double R and they became Rough and Ready. While they're totally down to defend their territory and they're not going to take any BS from anyone who's opening fire or hurting their business, they also don't get dragged unnecessarily into conflict.
Each of the 12 stations will have a unique exterior, and some of the ones will be Starlight Service Station, Obituary, a very happy name, Gaslight, but maybe that's not what it's really called, and Megumi Refueling, which is not as easy as it sounds to say. And of course, there's Checkmate Station, which is a little bit different to how you may have seen it in Pyro Playground and CitizenCon, and there's also Ruin Station.
What sets Ruin?
Okay, so here's an issue that I have. They are all the exact same space station. The exteriors change a tiny bit, but it's the exact same. So we have 12 new space stations that are exactly the same from each other. Just the exteriors change a tiny bit. I don't know. I think that's a little underwhelming for 6 years. For 6 years of development. Yes, I know they probably just started working on the space stations, but I still find it very underwhelming.
It's the big LEO. It was originally Checkmate that you would have seen in Pyro, but it's been greatly expanded. It has significantly revised and enlarged interior with much more gameplay opportunity.
When you arrive in a Pyro space station, you'll recognize some of the
I do like the interiors. They do look cool.
To be done there as well.
They have the same facilities, things like weapon shops, food courts, hangars.
You have direct access from your hangar to the cargo deck, and that's where you can buy your commodities or sell them, and then you can return right away into your instance hangar and then go off on your trip.
So this sounds, these stations sound way more thought through as far as cargo and freight elevators and the like, than what we're seeing in the Stanton with the 3.24 PTU right now. I like that idea, but does that mean we're going to have to go back through and redesign space stations in Stanton? Is that possible? I don't know. If this works the way, excuse me, if this works the way they say it does, and you don't have to go that far to go to cargo decks, that's fantastic news. And I think it cuts a lot of time off of prep, moving cargo around, selling cargo, buying cargo, etc. But I still feel for now that doing the stuff that they added in 3.24 is still just a very big wasted time sink. That's just my opinion. I know certain people love it. For me, if I come back to Star Citizen and play 3.24, I can guarantee you I will 100% not be using my personal hangar. Why? Because it's at where I choose to be most of the time, which is Area 18. Why would I ever go back there? So I have to wait for trams and everything else. I'm not doing that. To me, it's just more time wasted when I can just go and use a space station and get everything I need there and use the item kiosks and the freight elevators there. I don't really care about decorating my personal hangar that I'm gonna more than likely go to maybe a dozen times through an entire patch cycle if I were to play consistently. I'd be there maybe a dozen times, and it's like, oh, I need more guns for the ship I just bought, and that's why I'm going to Area 18. That's really it. I don't see a point.
From there, you can also access the external freight elevators to easily load your whole seas. And so we've made these gameplay loops much less tiring in Pyro.
And in Ruin Station, we'll have something called the Ghost Arena, which we'll let you discover for yourselves.
The Ghost Arena. I'm going to assume that this is just going to be a live version of Space Marine in whatever space station this is. That's probably all it is just a an arena area like I said in Space Marine, which yeah, no interest in. I mean, it could be fun for other players, but I'm just not interested in it. And if you're gonna tell me that this is like an arena type area for PvP, FPS PvP, then the server meshing really needs to be 100% worked out and exactly what we need it to be. Otherwise, we're still going to have the same problems we've had for many years in Star Citizen, and that is lag, desync, rubber banding, and all the things that go with the servers because we don't have server meshing. So we'll see. Once again, cool for some players, but I have no interest in it. If I really wanted to play an FPS arena type game, I'd just go and download, you know, Call of Duty or Valorant or something to that, CSGO. I don't, it's just not, Star Citizen's FPS just doesn't really do it for me.
So a contested zone, design-wise, we are likening them to kind of a classic MMO dungeon. Instead of the primary way of accessing this content being behind missions, we are taking more of an open approach.
It is an open space for players to go in and farm, get loot, some special rewards, and explore the station even more.
Okay, so contested zones sound to me like what they've tried with SPK, Wake of Disaster, and Ghost Hollow. So there needs to be something magical here, or it's going to die the same way SPK, Wake of Disaster, and Ghost Hollow have. How many people actually run SPK to farm gear and the little drugs that you get there out of the evidence locker and, you know, fight the bosses, which are just giant bullet sponges that don't really add anything to the game? Wake of Disaster, you got to pay $250K to get in, and even then you are going to need, it's slow and boring. Nobody does it anymore. Nobody. Ghost Hollow, when was the last time, you know, I played all the way up until 3.22 whatever was the last patch they put out before 3.23 came out. I played all the way up until that point. I hadn't seen anybody run Ghost Hollow since it was introduced. And it's kind of sad because nobody wants to do it. So whatever they're doing with these contested zones, it does sound cool. It does sound like Tarkov light in space. Go to an area, hold it down, fight against PvE AI, which once again, server meshing needs to be exactly what it needs to be, or we're going to suffer the same issues that we have currently in the bunkers in Stanton, where the AI just stands around looking at you, even though you just threw a grenade at their feet and they don't do anything. Or you shoot them and you go, oh crap, I need to reload, and you're reloading 5 times in a row and the AI is just standing there pointing a gun at you, not doing anything. So server meshing has got to do exactly what they say it does, or this is not going to be a fun experience. On top of that, the players coming in and messing with you and all that other stuff, it sounds really cool. It sounds fun, but there has got to be some magical loot in here, or it's going to die exactly like the previous 3 they've attempted. And you can't use money. Money is not going to drive it. And the current loot that they put in these places are really just new color variations of what we already have. You have to put something new and exciting in here, or, as I said, the players will try it for the first couple of months, realize that it's not all it's cracked up to be, and it will die just as fast as the previous 3 attempts at doing this. And that would be sad, because this sort of thing I'm actually interested in. I would love to do a Tarkov light in here. Yes, I know the FPS I said is not that great. It's not. But if the loot is worth it and there's exciting things in there, it could be fun. But and they also need to do something too where it's monthly or bi-monthly. The loot tables change in there as far as adding new stuff, and keeping it fresh. So like I said, it could be cool, or it could suck really, really bad after a few months.
What I really like about the contested zones is the fact that they are right there next to the social space. It's really quick access,
so you can just walk right to it.
Makes Pyro unique.
Hang a left and
you can be in the
walk
social
right
space, you have your shops, you have the hub, you have the clinic, but the contested zone is right there, often through just a door, an airlock.
This will be
all
very
stations
going to
have them?
It'll be very cold. There'll be ice along the walls. Some of these don't have the life support systems. The power will be generally out.
We have booby traps and mines. You'll hear the odd rustling inside the vents, with some potential surprises in it.
At some point, you'll be facing multiple doors, and every door is giving you different things to fight, different rewards, and so you have to choose.
Different things to fight. Right now, all we have is brain dead AI. Like I said, if server meshing actually does what it's supposed to do, maybe that could be interesting because they won't be stupid. What else is there? We have 2 animal types, a bird and a dog. Please don't tell me you're going to put those in there, because come on, come up with something else for Pyro, something specific to Pyro that makes us go ooh and ah, and once again drives us to want to go in there and fight against these things.
Where to go.
Bugs would be cool. I mean, there's larvae all over these stations, maggots that we can buy and eat. What about space bugs? Space bugs would be something new and cool. Make them dangerous, like the ones in Helldivers or Starship Troopers. Put those in there. That would be cool.
Some of them will be blocked through some puzzle elements, like key cards, to allow you to open the door and access the wing.
So
some areas
Doom
are
Eternal?
more secure than others, with better rewards. Other areas are highly
rewards
contested,
better be fantastic.
and there's more players coming into that space and more like an arena. We really want to take advantage of that, the vibe for Pyro of PvP, of lawlessness, of being out, sometimes alone, but hopefully you're there with your buddies to help back you up.
The zone inhabits various types of outlaws. These inhabitants are a constant population within this space, so they're not spawned via missions. They just exist there, and they will respawn over time. So this is a constantly inhabited space with a constant flow of challenges.
As long as they don't spawn 3 feet behind
Whilst
you.
we currently only have Copians, we're also thinking about expanding that potentially in the future.
Why don't you expand it now? I mean, at this point, we've already waited 6 years. What's a couple more months for you to create a new creature type? Like I said, do something simple. It's so stupidly simple. Just add bugs. Add bugs to it and make them come at us in waves. And, you get door number 1, door number 2. You go into door number 1, it's, rough and ready or whatever gang it is. You go into door number 2 and it's, a few waves of, like 25, 30 bugs at a time. I mean, server meshing at this point should be able to handle that, right? So do something like that. Just not dogs. Like, why are they even there? Why are the dogs there? Why are they even there? At least space bugs I can find a little bit more believable. Like I said, they got maggots all over the place that you can buy and eat. Why dogs? Like, I don't know. Maybe this is me just thinking way too far into it.
The ends could, you could be fighting bosses.
A boss fight?
Oh, no.
Yes, we would
Bullet
definitely
sponges.
want bosses. They could be guarding the best loot. They could be mission-based bosses that spawn as well. So whether
I thought you said you didn't want missions in here. Maybe I misheard him, but I thought this wasn't supposed to be mission-based. It was supposed to be just an open area that you go to. Like I said, like a Tarkov light. And, people will be like, well, Scarred, the bosses in Tarkov are bullet sponges too. No, not always. If you have the right gun with the right ammo, you can drop them in a couple of shots. It's not that big of a deal. But in Star Citizen, we don't have ammunition types. We don't have anything like that. So all of the bosses are just essentially going to be bullet sponges until that stuff is added. When that is, I don't know. And CIG's probably never going to say when that's coming up. But I don't like the idea of boss fights in Star Citizen right now, because it's just, you know, use your LMG and put 3 mags into them and they go down. And it's to me, it's not fun.
These boss fights come to the contested zones or not, in 4.0 or beyond, is still up for development, but I would personally really like to see that kind of thing added to contested zones to make them feel
As I said, why don't we actually finish some things before we just throw the product out there? Finish some stuff. I've been saying this for a while. Actually give us a finished feature that you don't have to go back and keep fixing over and over again. Now, I understand with certain things, you know, you put in A and then you put in B, and A and B don't mesh well together. You're going to have to go in and fix something and make it mesh together. I can understand that. But most of the time what we get is, here's this thing. It works mostly, but we have to finish developing it, but we're not going to touch it again for months or years down the line. And I really feel that that sort of thing needs to kind of stop.
Special.
So we're adding contested zones for 4.0 really to capitalize on the atmosphere, the lawlessness, having players compete with one another, where there's really that tension of getting that loot out of there, but having to fight your way to do it. Fight your way in, fight your way out.
This is all PvP. So you gotta be careful and always be watching out for other players.
Space Tarkov.
Sounds like a meat grinder.
It could be a meat grinder, especially being in Pyro with the PvP aspect. That's something that we are designing towards. Players may choose to go in to hunt other players, which I think adds a really interesting element to, because not only are you wary of the traps, the puzzles, but you have to kind of be wary, watch your back, ambushes from players, that kind of stuff.
For the social core, we've left the green zones so that people can still have an enjoyable social experience. So you don't have to worry about getting ganked every 2 minutes by other players, at least for the social space.
Unlike the global events that you know, such as the Siege of Orison or Overdrive, these are spaces that always exist and that you can always go into.
Now see that part I do like. I mean, look, Jumptown isn't really worth it right now because you can just go and make way more money salvaging in the same time it takes for you to do Jumptown. And it shows, because the last few times Jumptown was active, it was mostly a ghost town unless you had 2 orgs, you know, doing air-to-air combat above. It really, to me, it's just, Jumptown has lost its, has lost everything that was special about it over the last 2 years I've been playing. It went from you can make a lot of money there with a lot of risk to now what's the point of taking the risk when I can just put in global, hey, need somebody on my reclaimer, or hey, does somebody need help on their reclaimer? And in an hour and a half, I can make 8 times the amount of money I could make in that same hour and a half at Jumptown. That's a balancing thing and not a development thing. And I hope one day Jumptown gets fixed, because you should be making way more money at Jumptown for the amount of risk that you're putting in there. And, you know, as much as I hate to say it, money can be a factor in this game, since the only real progression we have is ship progression, or people want to buy new ships. And if you can go to Jumptown and make, you know, a quick, easy 5 mil, and, you know, and that's split between a handful of players, that would be amazing, but it's just not going to happen, not right now, but we'll see.
Loot that you've already gotten is going to come back. The time door that we have is timed based off of the world. So you have a really huge incentive to stay there, to keep holding your ground, to really make
the loot's
this
got to be
your
worth
space
it
as long as you can. before other people take it from you. And
The
I think
loot's gotta
that's
be
one of the
worth
things
it.
that's really exciting to me about bringing this to Pyro.
Okay, here we go.
Pyro has
Asteroid
a
bases.
number of asteroid clusters.
Now this
they
is
are
interesting.
the newer, larger asteroid clusters, so they should look and feel very different to the ones in...
Now, the one thing I don't like, we're going to back it up a little bit. Now, if you're flying through one of these asteroid clusters, a lot of us are going to be in nav mode or flight mode, right? So you got no shields.
Larger asteroid clusters, so they...
These chunks of rock would be, you know, flying right through your windshield and killing you. Yes, I know it's a video game, but this is... I still don't like master modes, and I probably won't like them for a very long time until it's very, very refined and well done. But until then, I don't like master modes. I don't like the concept behind it, and wish it would just go away. And I know it won't, but yeah, I'm not a fan.
They should look and feel very different to the ones in Stanton.
Asteroid bases for us are really trying to take advantage of our universe.
Now, see, these look
better in
new and
terms of the
unique and
locations that
different.
we
I'm sure
have.
they'll be copy pasted all over the
Space is big,
the
space
system.
is massive, but for our game, often we don't take as much usage of it as we should. We're taking procedural asteroids and we're carving these locations into it. And
so far I've seen, oh no, it's the same over here as it was on the first one they showed, but I saw the one with the sphere on it. Maybe that's like up here somewhere on the top of the asteroid, but I really don't want these to be copy pasted as well. I have a feeling they will be, which once again, you know, you do these a couple of times, a dozen times, it's going to get to be more of the same old, and I don't want to see the same mission types as we currently have in Stanton. Go to X location to kill 10 guys or 25 guys. Go to X location, explode X amount of drugs, and then you get your little tiny cash payout and move on with your day. As I said, most of the loot in Star Citizen is just colored variants of the armor that we already have. Most of it doesn't even look that cool, which is why the Artemix, you know, armor is highly sought after by people because it's the one armor that's different and unique. But even now, I still don't see people looking for them and trying to buy them in global chat. It's kind of a dead thing already.
we're really providing a lot of variety in the gameplay in a form factor space.
I mean, it's cool they're using
Essentially, we're
empty
utilizing
spots.
the station interior set that we have created, and we're wrapping them around an asteroid, a big asteroid that allows us to be a lot more versatile with the kit that we have and create some interesting layouts for you.
Asteroid base gives us the opportunity
I
to
saw something. Watch
some
right here in the
interesting
next
layouts
scene.
for you.
Right there. You guys see it? The spinning gun?
Asteroid base gives us the opportunity to
I'm glad to notice that their internal servers are just as crazy as what we have. So
create missions where you can be in space, then you have to go on the interior to continue the mission. We made a little twist of the bunker, you know, little space where we can have some missions, but in space.
Sounds like it's going to be
Sometimes
insane.
we could start with ship
And here's the other thing: the ship combat is never like this. I don't see ship combat ever happening like this, where you get somebody on your tail and you're trying to shake them off. That's a World War II, you know, modern aircraft type thing. This is not. This does not happen in Star Citizen. It's generally a face tank battle
combat. You could have heavily
or jousting.
defended areas on the outside. You could be engaging enemies outside on the landing pad.
Some of them even
Theaters
have
of war.
copion infestation.
What's with the copion? I understand
That
we
should
got to
be fun.
use them, but dang.
That should be fun.
Asteroid bases are not just for combat. Because they're procedural asteroids, one of the things that's really cool about them is we can have multiple routes into these locations. So players can EVA and enter through a vent hatch. You could find your way in through a hangar. You could go straight through the front door.
That doesn't make
But
it
there's
less
a lot
about
of room
combat.
for exploration, finding loot that's been hidden there with
It's
loot
got to be
crates,
fantastic
and
loot.
find certain items that are important for you that you want to use to progress through Pyro, things that you haven't seen before in Stanton.
Can you tell us what that is?
No, I don't want to spoil it.
That better be good, bro.
As a baseline, we wanted to bring Pyro up to par with all the content that we already have in Stanton, but also make it unique. We believe that with the addition of contested zones,
these booby traps look cool, but too simple to turn to get around.
All the little pieces will give us unique aspects that really make it feel different from Stanton.
I do like the asteroid
really
bases; they look cool.
To you finally getting your hands on the full experience of the stations. There's been a lot of effort put into them. There's a lot more diversity now inside and outside of the stations, both in terms of visuals and design.
Asteroid bases and contested zones, for us, are two really exciting new location types that we're bringing to the fans for Pyro. It's not a global event, so it's long-term. It's always going to be there.
That I also find cool.
Get new cool stuff, advance your progression, and have fun with your friends and your party, your orgs, and, you know, have a great time in Pyro.
I really don't like that they cookie-cuttered all
what
the
else
stations.
Did we learn this week? Well, we learned that Rough and Ready have cornered the market on space stations in the Pyro system, and that green zones are in place to make the experience in station social areas a bit more manageable for players. That does not extend to the new contested zones, where chaos and carnage will reign supreme, and those who can temper it, solve their puzzles, collect their treasures, and escape will be rewarded for their efforts. And that asteroid bases should allow for a combined arms assault to explore what's contained within.
Finally, we're getting it.
And Christopher doesn't want me to say just yet. We want to make sure it'll work the way we want it to. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Don't forget to vote in the Ship Showdown when that happens. Don't forget to keep testing 3.24 and 4.0 on PTU when that happens. Thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development when that happens. And we'll see you all here next week.
All right, so here's the thing. 3.24 is finally in PTU Wave 1 as of a day and a half ago, I think, now. And it has all the things that was supposed to be in 3.23. That was the biggest patch ever. What I really don't see them getting a 4.0 patch out before CitizenCon. Maybe they'll surprise me and they'll do it, but I really, really doubt it. I mean, it would be the fastest turnaround in the time I've been here. It would be the fastest turnaround I've seen a patch go from PTU to live and then get another patch into PTU outside of like the big hot fixes and balancing things that they've done in the past, where, you know, they'll do a PTU thing and it lasts for 4 hours and then they do some feedback and, you know, a week later it gets added. So that would be the fastest turnaround. I mean, we got 2.5 months before SitCon starts, and I have a feeling this patch that we're in right now, 3.24, will be an Evo for 3 to 5 weeks, which puts us at the end or the beginning of September. So they're really hard pressed to try to get this out before CitizenCon. Now, after, could we get it in December? Yeah, maybe. I am going to be a realistic kind of thinker here and say not until next year, early next year, summer next year, kind of like what we got with 3.23, you know, early March, beginning of summer, like June or July. But we'll see. We'll see. Last thing about what they showed here. The asteroid bases, they do look cool. I just hope the missions there and what you can find and what you can do there is something different than what we're doing in Stanton. But I do like the looks of them, both inside and outside. The space stations in Pyro, you know, Checkmate and Ragumi, Refuel and all of that, I'm a little disappointed and underwhelmed that they all look exactly the same. You know. Now contested zones could be really, really cool. You can't just be throwing money at people though, you know, in-game money, alpha aUEC, because it's going to get boring really fast. And the loot table has to be something special and be RNG based, or it's going to die off just as fast as SPK, Wake of Disaster, and what was the other one? Ghost Hollow. Nobody does them anymore. So we'll see. It could be cool there. We'll see. It's all based off of the loot table, and hopefully they can deliver something cool and special there. If not, it's dead in the water. Now, their Ghost Arena that they talked about, that also, it sounds just like an arena area for FPS. And like I said, if you're going to play arena style FPS, you may as well just go to Space Marine. But if Space Marine is what you're doing at that point, go take it to a more refined first person shooter. You know, as much as it pains me to say, go find a Call of Duty or a Call of Duty-esque game, because in my opinion, Star Citizen's FPS still isn't yet. It's still subpar, in my opinion. Some of that's server related, some of that's design choice. So I don't know. Is there a lot to look forward to in 4.0? Yeah. When will we get it? Who knows? It's been 6 years and counting, going on 7. Hopefully soon, right? Hopefully soon. You know, soon TM. Anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. I'm Scarred Citizen, and so long. Thanks for all the fish. Catch you in the next one.